Hello and welcome to Housing TV News at the top of the hour. Coming to you from our studios in the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Deborah Brown Owerri. Our top stories. African Strait potential faces setback over poor transport link. Stakeholders demand transparency as Nigerians move to launch FreeTV digital switchover. Federal government unveils Cooperative Bank to boost affordable housing finance. And on the foreign scene, Ukraine claims deadly strikes on Russian forces. Now the news in detail. Stakeholders in the transport and logistics sector have warned that poor transport infrastructure and limited connectivity across Africa could undermine the economic benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which targets a single market of 1.4 billion people with a combined GDP of over $3.4 trillion. Speaking at the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport annual lecture in Abuja, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyami, said Africa cannot achieve true economic integration while remaining physically disconnected. He noted that weak aviation networks, expensive airfares, poor road systems, limited rail connectivity, and congested ports continue to slow trade, investment, tourism, and economic growth across the continent. Presidents from the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Boboye Oyeyemi, described the challenge as a connectivity deficit costing Africans billions of dollars annually in lost trade, productivity, and investment opportunities. He stressed that while the AfCFTA presents enormous opportunities for economic transformation, its success depends largely on efficient infrastructure capable of moving goods, services, and people seamlessly across borders. Moving on, fresh concerns have emerged over the federal government's planned nationwide launch of Nigeria's digital switchover platform FreeTV, scheduled for June 17. While the government says the platform will provide Nigerians access to over 100 television channels, improve pictures quality, and real-time audience measurements for advertisers, industry stakeholders are demanding greater clarity on how the initiative will be regulated and managed. Moving on, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has attributed recent flooding incidents in Owerri, the Imo State capital, largely to indiscriminate waste disposal by residents. According to the agency, blocked drainage system caused by improper refusal disposal continue to trigger flooding across roads, homes, and public infrastructure during rainfall. NEMA's head operations for Imo and Abia states, Nnamdi Igwe, disclosed this during a sensitization program on disaster preparedness and early warning systems held in Owerri. The program brought together emergency response agencies, including the military, fire service, FRSC, NSCDC, the State Emergency Agency, and the Nigerian Red Cross. Igwe warned that human activities remained a major driver of environmental disaster within the state. And we take a short break here. When we return, more stories from the build sector. Do stay with us.
Are you getting ready for another big one? The largest housing show in Africa. 2 decades of relentless exhibition and conference. The 20th edition of the Africa International Housing Show, happening from the 13th to 18th of July 2026 at the prestigious Transco Hilton Hotel, Abuja, Nigeria. This premier event is Africa's largest housing and construction expo, attracting over 50,000 attendees in Africa and beyond, thereby giving room for developers, construction giants, financiers, home interiors, mortgage and microfinance banks, drawing from about 21 different countries of the world. Get ready to be part of history.
Now to the build sector. The federal government has announced plans to establish the Cooperative Bank of Nigeria to provide financing support for cooperative societies, affordable housing projects, and undeserved sectors of the economy. The initiative, introduced through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, forms part of the Renewed Hope Cooperative Reforms and Revamp Program aimed at strengthening Nigeria's cooperative systems and expanding access to housing finance. Speaking at the Cooperative Housing Summit Africa in Abuja, the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security and Supervising Minister of Cooperative Affairs, Aliyu Abdullahi, said the proposed bank would operate as a transparent digital-driven financial institution largely owned by cooperative societies. According to him, cooperative societies will hold 65% equity in the bank, while strategic investors and development finance institutions will control 30%, with employees holding the remaining 5% stake. The minister added that the initiative is expected to improve financial inclusion, address housing deficits, and unlock the economic potential of cooperative societies nationwide. Meanwhile, stakeholders in the Nigerian housing finance sector have continued to emphasize the need for strong mortgage systems and sustainable financing solutions to address nation's housing deficit. These formed part of discussions at the 20th Annual General Meeting of Infinity Trust Mortgage Bank held in Abuja, while shareholders reviewed the bank's performance and strategic direction. Correspondent Joseph Johnson reports that shareholders unanimously approved all resolutions presented before the meeting, including the adoption of the bank's 2025 audited financial statements, declaration of dividends, approval of bonus share issuance, re-election of directors, and reappointment of external auditors. And moving on now, the federal government has won contractors handling projects under the Renewed Hope Housing Estates programs to improve performance or risk contract termination. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Mutaka Rabi Dharma, gave the warning during an inspection visit to the Renewed Hope Housing Estate project in Damaturu. The housing project, valued at over 5 billion naira, was expected to be completed within 4 months. However, 2 years after construction commenced, only about 40% of the work has been completed. The minister expressed dissatisfaction with the pace of work, describing the level of progress as unacceptable. He stated that the federal government would no longer tolerate unnecessary delays in delivery of critical housing projects across the country. The minister also announced plans for a nationwide assessment of contractors handling projects under the Renewed Hope Housing Program. According to him, contractors facing financial challenges or rising construction costs must formally apply for contract variation or extension, stressing that delays without official approval would not be tolerated. He added that contractors who fail to meet timelines risk losing their contracts. And on the foreign scene, Ukraine has claimed responsibility for 2 separate military strikes in Russian-occupied territories, reporting significant casualties among Russian forces. Ukrainian officials say that the attacks form part of an intensified drone warfare strategy targeted military infrastructure and operations. According to Ukrainian military sources, one strike targeted a drone training facility in Snizhe, reportedly killing at least 65 cadets and a training instructor. A second strike reportedly killed a Russian security service headquarters and an air defense installation in the Kherson region, resulting in additional casualties. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the operations, describing them as a part of ongoing efforts to weaken Russian military capability in occupied territories. However, timelines surrounding the attacks remain unclear, as both sides continue to issue conflicting battlefield reports. Russia, meanwhile, acknowledged ongoing military operations while maintaining claims of territorial gains and announcing nuclear-related military exercises involving Belarus. In another development, United States President Donald Trump has announced plans to deploy an additional 5,000 American troops to Poland, signaling continued military repositioning across Europe. Trump says the decisions reflect strong relations with Polish leadership, although operational details were not immediately provided. The announcement followed earlier Pentagon troop adjustments involving Germany and Poland as part of broader changes in United States military strategy. The development also comes amidst rising geopolitical tensions across Europe, with Washington reportedly reviewing troop levels across NATO countries under its America First security approach. That's the much we can take on housing TV news at the top of the hour. But before we go, a recap of our top stories. Africa's trade potential face setback over poor transport links. Stakeholders demand transparency as Nigeria moves to launch FreeTV DSO. Federal government unveils Cooperative bank to boost affordable housing finance. And on the foreign scene, Ukraine claims deadly strikes on Russian forces. For more news in the housing sector, subscribe to Housing TV Africa on YouTube and follow us across all social media platforms. You can also download the Housing TV Africa app on Google Play Store, Apple App Store, and the FreeTV app. I am Deborah Brown Owame. Thank you for watching.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.